Hello, guys. Welcome to a new episode of Text on the Global's webinar, wherein we try to decode about various aspects of the startup ecosystem and various mechanism of fundraising. In today's webinar, what we're trying to understand and analyze is that how does buyback mechanism work, and once the buyback takes place, then how to take that into perspective, right? So buyback is usually used for during the time of exit opportunity, wherein it is given to the shareholders and the investors during the time of post fundraising activities. We of it, and how and where we can use buyback, and what are the various formats in this regard, right? So if we take this into perspective, the share buyback is not always tantamount to share reduction. It's of course is discretion and share capital. The company buy back the shares of the company from the shareholders, right? And we usually see them very often in the listed entities, and this happens when the company have sufficient cash, or they raise a new round of funding only for buyback opportunity. Now, this results into various factors, and the reason it's been favored by many people is that in various companies, it results into increase in promoter stake. It also increases the earning per share ratio. If you see the reduction in the share capital, the number of shares, that impacts in increasing in EPS, the maintaining the shareholders value. In case of secondary market, you give it at a premium, buy it back at a premium, and this also sometimes to counter takeover opportunities, hostile takeover opportunities, you get through it. We also understand that return of surplus cash to the shareholders in case of dividends, or for that matter, the venture capital funds also get an opportunity to exit. The angels, the previous round, get an opportunity to exit when buyback takes place, and the debt equity ratio is also well maintained in case of this buyback. Right now, if you see in this webinar, we will try to cover both from Indian aspect as well as the Singapore aspect. Me and my colleague Kiti will be briefing in one by one. The first part is, of course, section 68, section 69, 70, and rule 17 of the share capital and debenture rules. All these rules are pertaining to the Indian regulation. Now, just to put perspective, there are various sources of buyback. I think I have already discussed that. You have on technical aspects, the free reserve, surplus premium, and the proceeds of issue of any other shares, other specified security. But it's no buyback of any kind of shares can be made out of proceeds of earlier issue. So you can do it from the proceeds of this issue if you have if you have asked in the prospectus of the investment agreement that this share capital is getting raised only for buyback, then you can buy it back. But for previous issue which you have raised for a different thing, you cannot use that into perspective. Now, there are several conditions of buyback. I would like my colleague Kitty to run us through this in detail.
Thank you, Shaumik. So, taking the discussion further, we would like to put forth what are the conditions that facilitate buyback of shares. Buyback of shares should be authorized by the articles of association of the company. So, in case the article does not permit buyback of shares, then the company has to amend its articles to permit buyback of shares. That is the first prima facie step, the primary step that the company has to do in order to proceed with the buyback. That is, check their articles of association if it permits buyback of shares. The as a secondary step, the company should contemplate that they should, what is the percentage of buyback, the percentage of shares that the company is proposing to buyback. So the maximum limit that has been set as per the Companies Act is a 25% of total paid up share capital and free reserves of the company. So it should the buyback should also be completed within 1 year from the date of passing the resolutions. Now there is a crux for passing a resolution. Now if the companies, if the shares, the amount that is to be bought back, if it is only up to 10% of paid up share capital, free reserves and securities premium, then it can be done through board resolution. There is no requirement of intervention of passing a special resolution in this case. However, if the buyback is more than 10% but up to 25% of the paid up share capital, then the company will have to pass a special resolution for a special resolution to authorize buyback of the shares. The company, it can also. The debt equity ratio.
Yeah, Iti, you can continue.
Yeah. The debt equity ratio in terms of the buyback, it should be 2:1 only. So the company should maintain a debt equity ratio by 2:1, and they cannot exceed this 2:1 ratio between debt and equity in the company's balance sheet or the in the books of the company. And the company, when they are contemplating or when they are proposing to buy back, they should not utilize any money that has been borrowed. So borrowed funds, say from bank or financial institution. So the company cannot basically take loan from these institutions or bank to just to give buyback the shares of the company from their shareholders. And the shares of the company, the one of the most fundamental point is that the shares of the company should be totally paid up. Now the shares cannot be a partially paid shares. They have to be fully paid up so that the company can do or can make a buyback of their shares. Moving forward, we from the compliance aspect, we should keep a healthy check on what should be the contents of the notice for meeting special resolution. So the company, while issuing notice of the meeting for special resolution, they should disclose all the material facts in the notice of the meeting. They should also provide what is the reason and why is it necessary for the company to make the buyback. They should also specify what is the class of shares, or what is the number of shares, or what are the securities the company is intending to buy or intending to purchase from their existing shareholders. What is the amount that the company is figuring to to invest in this round of buyback. and what is the time limit that the company is foreseeing that they are going to complete the buyback within these times. So these are the fundamental and these are the necessary points that the company, the compliance officer of the company must check and must input in their notice for notice of the meeting. The next is why the company is why the company prohibits buyback in certain circumstances. So there are certain circumstances that the company has put forth. The Companies Act basically has put forth which does not facilitate buyback in certain situations. So they can purchase their, so if they are purchasing their own shares through any subsidiary company or any subsidiary companies, then in such case buyback is not allowed. Buyback is also not allowed in case a company is purchasing its own shares only, but through any investment company or a group of investment companies. If company is purchasing shares through its investment company, then buyback cannot be done. Or if the company has not paid any kind of repayment of their deposits or interest on deposit, redemption of debentures, preferences, dividend, payment of term loans or interest payment of any kind of loan to any banking companies or financial institutions, in that case buyback is not permitted as per the Companies Act. However, if if they have remedied such defaults and a period of 3 years, a cooling period of 3 years has been given, that if a cooling period of 3 years has elapsed from such default, then the company can buy back their shares. Say for example, if there was a default in the year 2000, 2019, and the company has made it the company has made the default good in 2019, so by 2023 the company can issue or the company can make buyback of shares. Such prohibition in case of redemption of debentures or any kind of deposit or interest on loan, it will not subsist. Then moving forward, we are now going to describe and discuss what are the process of buyback, how the company can buy back their own shares. So basically, the first check that we have already discussed is they have to check that the company has the authority in the Articles of Association. The maximum check in case of buyback should be a maximum of 25% only. They have to buy back, or they have to send the notice. So making check for these two situations, these 2 points, the company can issue notice for the meeting depending upon what kind of resolution the company is contemplating to pass. If it necessitates to pass a board resolution, they are going to send notice for board resolution. If it is necessitates to pass a special resolution, they are going to send notice for the special resolution, specifying the contents that we have already discussed previously. Convening, so post the notice is sent, they are going to convene a meeting of board of directors or the board of or a special resolution meeting. In case it is required, in case special resolution is required, they will have to convene a extraordinary general meeting. Post the meeting is convened, the company will have to make a filings to the ROC, registrar of companies, specifying with the requisite documents that specifying that they have adopted the resolution. One of the most important thing that the company has to take care, that before making any kind of buyback as per the provisions of the Companies Act, they will have to file a declaration of solvency in form SH8. In form SH8, and the letter of offer will also be a letter of offer in form SH8 has to also be attached in form SH9. So such a declaration and letter of offer will have to be signed by, of course, the directors of the company, and the declaration will also be verified by an affidavit. Which will give the effect that board has made all the kind of full inquiry to company's affair, including that the company is capable of meeting its liabilities, and they will not be the company is not insolvent as per the declaration. After the forms are filed with the ROC, the offer letter to the shareholders is dispatched by the shareholder, containing the offer period, which should be at least for 15 days, and it should not exceed 30 days. Post the offers are sent, of course, the shareholders who wish to exchange their shares or who wish to dispose their shares under this buyback, they will give their permission, and post that the shares or securities, whatever the company is buying back its own shares, it shall extinguish its shares or physically destroy the shares, so within 7 days of the completion of the buyback. And post this, the offer gets completed. Finally, form sh11 is filed with the company within 30 days of completion of buyback, along with the necessary documents that the company has to file. Say it's a board resolution, a special resolution, balance sheet of the company, and optional attachment, whatever the ROC seeks in this regard. So the next point is how to buy back shares in Singapore, which Shomik will take further.
Right. Thanks, Vicky. I think we have now covered the Indian aspect. Now we will update on the Singapore aspect. Now, what does the Singapore Companies Act state about the buyback regulation? So, any company that is going for buyback cannot do a purchase from unless it is the charter permit. So the constitution documents are very important, similar to India, right? So that can only be happening if the charter permits that to happen. Only then that can take place, right? Now the second and important aspect that one need to understand is the fact that in case of 76B, the law says for a certain class of securities, their maximum limit is the 20% of the total number of securities of that particular class. So if there's several classes of securities, only 20% will be allowed. And if you want to do more, then you have to take the court's approval. Also, a company may buy back of its shares out of its capital or its profit as long as the company or the board of directors are in the view that it will continue to remain solvent even in case of buyback. So in Singapore, a lot of emphasis is given to the flexibility and the good judgment of the directors of the company. Now, what shall the notice of buyback state? It will state that it will have the offer scheme and which will state of equal access. It will also state about the purchasing price and the acquisition that every company will do for every shareholders, and it should be authorized by the company through its general meetings. The notice of for the general meetings had also state about the content, the number of percentage that will happen pre and post, the maximum price, the date by which you have to inform the company about the buyback, about your willingness or unwillingness. It will also inform about the source of fund. Now, once the buyback takes place, the share purchase as such acquired will be cancelled. So the shares will be cancelled and the share certificates will also be cancelled or destroyed in terms of the buyback. right? Now, filing to ACRA, ACRA is the government body in Singapore, so filing to ACRA should also take place, and the BIS profile should also reflect the same accordingly, right? So once that take place, we will then proceed with what are the differences of the share buyback and reduction, because it's a very common thing. So till now we have covered the Indian regulation and the Singapore regulation. Now we will try to understand what's the difference between share buyback and share reduction. PT?
Yeah. So share reduction and share buyback, if you see, the crux is that in both the cases the shareholders or the shares of the company are reducing. So but there is a significant differences between what is reduction of share capital and what is a share buyback. So in case of reduction of share capital, the members will have to mandatorily get their shares cancelled. It can be against their will, or if it can be as per the members wishes. But in a share buyback, the members, they do have an option to refuse to sell their shares. So if a company has given an offer letter to the shareholder to get their to buy back or to get their shares bought back by the company, the members who do not wish, they can reduce, they can refuse the company's option. But in reduction of capital, the members will not have any kind of obligations or any kind of options, and they will obligated to get their shares cancelled. And in case the second most important part of the difference is that the shareholders, in case of reduction of capital, they may or they might not receive any payment towards their shares cancelled. However, in case of buyback, the shareholders are liable to receive cash proceeds from the company. Moving forward, just to put perspective on the discussion of buyback that we have had in the webinar, we've tried to explain a scenario by a scenario of buyback, how it is done for a private limited company in India, how it is done. We've just tried to put it to, with a very with a case study. So in this case study, a private limited company, so which operates in IT and ITES sector, and having a significant growth, and for the past 10 years they are operating and having good revenue and good profits. So in this case, the company, it wishes to buy 1,000 equity shares out of 1 lakh equity shares that has been issued in accordance with the Companies Act 2013. So stating the objective of the buyback, the primary objective of the buyback of the company was that they wish to return the shareholders the surplus cash to the shareholder, and enhance the value of the company, which we are going to see how this buyback works in case of EPS of the shares, and how they want to increase the stakes of the other promoters, or the stake of the other shareholders in the company. So the case studies goes like this: that number of shares that the company had issued was 1 lakh shares. The company contemplated to buy back 1,000 shares. Buyback price was rupees 100 per share. So the percentage that of the shares that the company wishes to buy back is 1% of the share, 1% of the company. Cost that they want to infuse or invest in this buyback is rupees 1 lakh. Earning per share after this buyback will reduce. So will increase. How this is done? We've tried to explain it by the calculation. Since 1 lakh was the amount that the company is trying to invest, and the shares being reduced by 99,000 by 1,000, which is 99,000 now. So EPS becomes 1.01. Earlier it should have been 1. Now the EPS is increasing by 0.01, and the EPS has increased 1.01 rupee per share. So since now this is only 1% of the shares that the company is wishing to buy back, the resolution required for such transaction is a board resolution only. Special resolution will not be required in case of this small buyback. So the scenario here, this is how the buyback works in case the company wants to buy back shares. This is how EPS increases when the company is buying back the shares. So the total cost being the buyback is 1 lakh, and after buyback the EPS has increased from 1 rupee to rupees 1.01. So it is important also to note to see that the buyback is having quite a positive impact on the EPS of the company, even if the buyback is as small as 1% of the stake of the company only.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have covered the various aspects of buyback, and I think the viewers how buyback happens, especially in case of exit opportunities. Would love to hear from you if you have any query as such, and we can resolve the same accordingly and take this forward. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back for a further episode in days to come. Thank you so much. Bye.